Good day. My name is Dr. Leonard West, and I would personally like to thank you for taking an interest in this research. What you're about to see represents the cutting edge in scientific medicine and research. But before I get into that, I feel I must explain the theory behind this research. As many of you know, the inner ear is responsible for hearing, the smallest portion of your ear. It is responsible for the translation of basic sounds. Without the inner ear, you would not be able to distinguish between, well, a dog's bark here and a train whistle there. Now, the fact you may not be aware of is that the inner ear is also responsible for balance. The inner ear is the body's only source of balance calculations, and no, I'm not talking about your pocketbook. The inner ear tells you which way is up and down and left and right and backwards and forwards and everything, as a matter of fact. Without the inner ear, the body has absolutely no sense of balance. You know that creepy feeling you get when you're just about to fall over? Well, you see, that's the inner ear screaming at your brain. Now, this is the exciting part. Imagine what it would be like if you didn't have an inner ear. That's the whole point of this research. Now, we're only in the early stages here, but we believe we are finally ready to remove the inner ear of a human subject. Oh, recording? Well, yes. Now, for the benefits. First, the patient will lead to invaluable research on basic brain functions and movement calculations. A CAT scan will show the activity of the brain as it struggles to make basic movements, thus shifting the 90% of the unused space in the brain over into the used category. It will show basic adaptation processes as the patient becomes used to the idea of not being able to stand up straight. Math and logic computations will begin to take place on instinct as the patient will visualize himself standing up and then put it into practice and actually stand. Or so we hope. Being forced to revert to basic functioning, emotions will simply become irrelevant. Battle for survival, rage, depression, pain, doubt, all of these will just be rolled into one big happy emotion. This will thusly teach us how human beings suppress and express their emotions. And yes, the true purpose of this project is unveiled. By marketing this experiment to the paying public, the funding will be more than reimbursed and expounded so as to continue our research. Online viewing will also be made available to subscribers on a monthly basis with the Crazy Cam observing the padded room 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Please note that the Crazy Cam is only available to high-speed internet users. Adults over 18 can also access the uncensored portions of the broadcast, complete with cussing and graphic humiliation of the patient as he struggles to do everyday tasks like feed himself and stand up. Alas, as with every experiment, there will be possible risks and hazards. The patient may experience nausea, vomiting, explosive diarrhea, dizziness, death, massive blows to the skull, both post-mortem and pre, extreme pain to the head, permanent deafness, migraines, and muscle fatigue. And unfortunately, there is also the mild risk that these experiments will result in a permanent brain shutdown, ultimately leaving the patient in a vegetable state. Now, between you and me, these are all very small and acceptable risks. However, the Human Rights Organization will probably find these experiments rather distasteful, shall we say, and there will always be the ever-present danger that they may break into the laboratory and shut us down. Nevertheless, you have my sincerest assurance that nothing bad will happen, as noted by the giant smiley face on the chalkboard. I would like to note that the Human Rights Organization poses the greatest threat to maintaining our internet connection. Subscribers, please note that there are no substitutions, exemptions, or refunds, as stipulated in your Terms of Service Agreement. Thank you. Before any experiment can begin, funding is a mandatory issue to establish the proper environment. Seeing as how my experiments were quite inhumane and probably illegal, I decided to lobby this through the most easily deceived organization on the face of the earth, the United States government. By soliciting a promising campaign to military organizations, I would successfully be able to tap into the largest tax-paying bracket of American spending. Hopes to work with the FBI proved unwise as allegations of Juarez cracking are being processed by them. The CIA was deemed too ignorant for this project, as they didn't understand half of my versatile vocabulary. The Secret Service left me a message detailing their interest in this project, but then again, I never really liked Nazis anyway. I had but one final solution. With unlimited funding by homeless people, I was able to construct a massive laboratory off the coast of Delaware in a secluded area far too small to be seen by spy satellites. I was also able to construct a padded room and set up a closed-circuit TV monitor system for 24-hour surveillance. Finding a neurosurgeon proved difficult. I had to settle for a dentist out of Florida who had his license taken away for infecting his patients with HIV during appointments. His familiarity with surgical equipment was quite helpful, and he familiarized himself with a quick study anatomy guide purchased at a local convenience mart. The most challenging part of the endeavor was to find ourselves a foreign prisoner on death row and procure all rights to him. A confidant of mine in Asia led me to a small Vietnamese orphanage just outside of Saigon with limitless resources. For a nominal fee of only 365 United States dollars, my confidant in Saigon sent me his most prized boy. 3 weeks later, he arrived through the U.S. Postal Service. Admittedly, he was slightly older than I was expecting. Nonetheless, he still exhibits a childlike fascination with his new home, and I have every confidence he will prove to be a suitable test subject. young man grew a slight fondness for our American society and enjoyed hip-hopping around to generic rap rhythms and crazy techno beats. I provided him with a steadfast diet of White Castle hamburgers to keep him malnourished and close to the laboratory bathroom at all times.
Your ass is really about to burst.
When I deemed he was ready, I slipped a minute dose of rat poison and sedatives into his steamed patty. Tasting no difference, young Pang was out like a candle in a tsunami. The next several hours were spent painstakingly removing bits and pieces of Pang's inner ear, careful not to touch his brain matter or damage his cranium in any non-reparable way. I paid Dr. Weber handsomely for his work and threw in a year's supply of food stamps to ensure total secrecy about the project until it was deemed safe.
And here's your food stamps. That should keep you eating for a month then. All right. So have a good night now.
Oh, good, you're awake, Pang. It took a full 3 weeks to recuperate you. With heavy doses of lithium, of course. Now, I have some excellent news. I've shown all our preliminary footage to our investors at the Salvation Army, and they've been quite pleased. In fact, they're setting up our secured access webpage at GeoCities as we speak. Now, I'm just going to leave this handy webcam on so that all the nice people at home can see you. Okay, Pang? That's my boy.
Cái này phỏng cái gì? Em ở đâu nè?